There we are live. Good day and welcome back to another episode of the Air Force Podcast. My name is Yaku and today we've got Vinny with us. Vinny from the Fighting for Freedom podcast. Thanks a lot for being here. Thanks a lot for your time today, Vinny.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. Nice and early for me and nice and late for you, huh?
Yeah, the time difference is, as we said, it's huge. But luckily for the internet, luckily for this kind of technology, we can talk to each other today. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, of course, man. I'm always looking forward to building our community, helping out our community, and just being a key member to our community, you know?
Okay. You've mentioned your community. What exactly would you say is your community, especially you with your military background, being in the military? Uh, please talk to me about that. What would you say is your community?
So, my community, I can break it down in two different forms, right? I can break it down into my community and what I call the Freedom Empire. So when you subscribe to my channel, when you like my video, when you see my post and it makes you smile, that makes you a part of the Freedom Empire, right? So everything I preach and everything I talk about is for you and all of my audience to listen to. One thing that I really like to harp on is, so I'm active duty military, right, in the United States Navy. There's a lot of things that go on in the military that people aren't aware about. And I don't mean like, crazy things. I mean like how to invest your money, how to spend your money, how to save your money, resources like mental health, buying a house. So what I do is I take people who know a lot about these subjects and I also do the research myself. And the guests that I have on my podcast are either active duty or they're veterans of one of the armed services. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be U.S. military. I'll take any other military as well. Doesn't matter to me. But I like to give people a chance to hear somebody else's problems and know, like, hey, I'm not alone. Like, I'm going through this problem, and now so is this person. So it makes me feel a little better. So to answer your question, my community is the Freedom Empire. And then my second community, I would say, is just everybody with a heart, brain, skin, blood, organs. Anybody, man. I don't discriminate. I don't care who you are, where you're from. I don't care what sports team you like. It doesn't matter to me. If you're a human and you need help, let me know. I'll do the best I can.
Yes, that's a wonderful take. That's a great take on a great perspective, a great take on humanity, on people, on
Yeah, man.
because especially in this day and age, a lot of people don't see it like that. A lot of people, especially you see it almost all the time. People discriminating, people, especially about the wars going on now. People discriminating. There's always got some kind of thing to it, and there's nobody
Yeah.
is judging people based on their character, based on who they are, based on them being people. And that's incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the right thing to do. And also, with that being said, we've talked about a bit before the recording about on your bio, on your profile, you said that you've helped build 3 schools in
Yep.
I forgot the country, in Palestine.
No, in the Philippines.
In Philippines. Okay. Yeah, you said you
Yep.
built 3 schools, but you're not the builder. You're in the military, you're in the Navy. How does that work? How do you get those things together?
So in the U.S. military, just like other militaries out there, the Navy, right? The Navy is, everyone thinks boats and ships and maybe some people that fly planes. Well, that's not all there is to it, right? So when I first joined the military, when I first joined the Navy, I looked into what my jobs could be, right? I didn't want to just go in blind. So I said, I want to do something that will, when I decide to potentially get out of the Navy, will help me transition into civilian life and give me a career as a civilian as well. So, being like like working in like the armory, not really going to help. I didn't want to be a cook. That was not ideal. Looking at radar, maybe some, just not for me. I'm more of a hands-on, get blisters, sweat my ass off type of guy. And I also did not want to go on a ship. I know it sounds funny. Join the Navy. I said, I am not going on a ship. I have actually been in the Navy for 7 years, and I seen a ship for the first time last week. I have never seen a ship before until last week, and I was like, holy shit, that thing's huge. But I'm glad I don't have to go on it. But anyway, so I did my research, right? And I found this community that was called the Seabees. So in the Navy, there's a community of Seabees, which our main job is to do vertical construction and set up defense. So, for example, let's just say if anything happened, we would be the people who go there and build the base, right? Wear the boots on ground that build the base. But we also do a lot of humanitarian things, when there's natural disasters, people will go and help after hurricanes and what have you. Now, how I got to the schools is we like to do a lot of giving back to I guess our friends, friend countries, and I got lucky enough to go to the Philippines on 2 separate occasions where we built 3 schools and 1 small medical facility. So by trade, I'm a plumber. We also have other people who are, builders and steel workers and equipment operators and electricians. So we all come together and we are able to build a building.
Okay. And why did you decide to join the military? What led you to saying, okay, this is what I want to do. I'm going to pursue this for my life. What led you to do that?
So originally I was I'm going to backtrack a little bit so I can give you the full story. So we graduated high school, right? I was like, let me go to college because that's what you're supposed to do, right? Graduate high school, go to college. I went to a college nearby, and I did not like it. After half a semester, I dropped out, and I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. So at that point, I was like, all right, well, I got to do something. I can't just sit home all day. I can't, be a bartender all day because that's what I was doing at the time. So I said, okay, let me go into the nursing field. So I ended up going to a St. Paul School of Nursing. I got a 2-year accredited associate's degree in the medical field. And after working for about 8 months in the medical field, I hated it. I was like, this is terrible. This is not really what I thought I wanted to do. And plus trying to find the job was really hard because the stigma of a nurse is a female, right? So trying to compete with females was hard. I also worked in a gynecologist, pediatrics, and podiatrist office. So it's lady parts, kids, and feet, right? So the kids and the feet, it was okay for me because the parents or the patients were like, yeah, that's okay. But when it came to the gynecologist, I had to ask permission. I said, hey, I'm gonna be your male, medical assistant. Do you mind if I'm in the room? And for the most part, they were like, no, I'm sorry. Some people were like, yeah, it's okay. You have a degree, be my guest. But some people were like, no. So that kind of limited what I was able to do. Now trying to get other jobs, some doctors would tell me straight up. They would be like, listen, man, I'm man to man. I'm going to let you know right now. If I hire you, you're going to have limitations like the ones that I just explained. But if I hire the beautiful, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, dumb as rocks girl, she's, it's like that. I don't know. It was annoying. It was annoying. It was unfair to an extent. But I'm glad it happened because I believe everything happens for a reason. So after about 8 months of just hating my life, being in the medical field, I said, I want to do something different. I want to do something drastic. Now, I probably could have moved to a different state and found it a medical field job. But I said, I'm going to join the United States Navy. So I walked into a recruiter's office. I said, I want to join. And he was like, that's not how this works, but there's steps to it. And I was like, okay, what do I have to do? So we went over what I had to do, signed the piece of paper. A week later, came home, and I was like, Mom, I joined the Navy. She was like, what? And I was like, yep, I joined the Navy. She was like, no, you didn't. And I was like, yep, here's my paper. And she was like, and my mom beat my ass, but in like a loving way, you know?
Mm.
She was like, you're not leaving me. And I was like, I'm sorry, Mom, but like, it's just time for me to just, I don't want to say spread my wings and fly, but I just wanted to, do something new, do something fresh.
Okay, and before I continue with this part of the discussion, you've mentioned now and not discriminating in any way, not trying to say anything weird in any way, that being in the nurse, kind of in the medical field, was more dominated by females. That's the stigma around it. That's the thing around it, and it was difficult for you in that kind of situations, in that kind of profession. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, so I don't want to play on your words or say something that you don't want to say here, but um, do you think that that kind of gender thing that is going on always, that males are always seen as the dominating part of the society? All of the jobs go to them. They are kind of like the only, I would say, the breadwinners, all of that kind of things, that you've experienced something different in the shoes that you were in at that stage.
I mean, I'm not gonna say yes. I'm not gonna say no, because there have been, like, even to this day, there are some females or some women who have been like phenomenal leaders, and
Definitely,
my
definitely.
military career, I have, to this day, I have a mentor, and she's a female, right?
Mm,
And it's like, I don't know, it's like anything I needed, or even like raising me, I want to say, like, in the military,
mm,
grooming me is probably a better word. She was always there. And I didn't even realize like the impact and the help she was giving me until like I finally got up on that pedestal per se, and I was like, wow, like I'm doing really good at this. And it was all because of her. So I am forever grateful. But no, I don't, I mean, I think it is what it is, right? Whoever works hard is going to get the job done faster.
yes, okay, yes, definitely perfect. And now, also with your medical background, why did you go into the construction part, into I would say that line, and not into the medical line? Maybe be a field medical, something in that area. Why did you choose that?
So, like I said earlier, I wanted to do something that would help me transition when I decided when I was ready to get out of the military, that would help
Mm,
me in the civilian world. I knew if I went in to be like a field medic or something in the medical field,
uh,
I didn't want to have to do that again when I got out of the military. And I do like to work with my hands.
mm,
Plumbing is so fun. Plumbing and HVAC, they make a lot of money here in the States. I'm sure they make a lot of money everywhere you go, because there's two things people need, is air condition and heat, because it gets hot and it gets cold. In
mm.
America, at least. I don't know about South Africa. I don't know. I don't know what goes on over there. But I was like, this is something I want to do. And my grandfather was in the Navy. So when I told him, I said, I'm going to join the Seabees, his eyes lit up. And he was like, no way. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, do it. He was like, I wanted to do that so bad, and I just couldn't. I don't know what his situation was, why he couldn't exactly get the job. Maybe it was too full or just wasn't available at the time. I don't know. But when I had the opportunity to be a plumber and not go on a ship, I was like, sign me up. I'll leave right now.
Okay, that's good. So you also have a bit of a, I would say, military related history because of your grandfather. Do you have anybody else in your family as well that could have maybe have motivated you, have given you that kind of thing in the back of your head that say, okay, maybe I can do this? Do you have anybody else in your family?
Nah, not really. At the time when I was in college, like after I graduated, right? My first college I went to, I found a fraternity. I ended up joining a fraternity, so I was a frat boy. I actually had three brothers in my fraternity that ended up joining the services. Two went to the
Okay.
Navy, and then one went to the Army prior to the fraternity ordeal. So kind of in my head, one of the guys who joined the Navy, very smart guy, very down to earth, and he was one of my closest friends in the fraternity. So we both he had the idea, and I was like, sounds like a good idea. His job was completely different than mine. So that's a different story. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's maybe the impact that my friends or family would have on me knowing and thinking about the military.
Okay, and then being in the military have a very big toll on you. You physically have a big toll on people mentally, especially when people come back from tours. They suffer a lot of things like PTSD, all of that shell shock, that kind of things a lot of people talk about. Is there any kind of awareness that you would like to raise about that? Maybe talk a bit about that. How can people approach that? Is there any channels that people can follow? That kind of things.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, I really like to get into mental health. That is like one of the biggest things that I am, I am no way in shape or form like an advocate, but I have 2 ears and one mouth. Reason be, because I like to listen, and if you need me to, I'll listen and I'll shut up. Uh, if you're in the military or even if you're a civilian, there's plenty of helplines out there. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram or even YouTube. I put all those in all my descriptions. It's the Fighting for Freedom podcast, but definitely mental health and just awareness. Like a lot of people just really don't know things and they're curious. So that's the one thing I'm trying to do is just spread awareness. Mental health is a big thing. I suffered from mental health in the military. It's at times it's very stressful. And sometimes we all come from different places. We're all in different shapes and forms. So some people might not handle it as well as other people.
Okay, and then a lot of times the people that it's actually suffering from the mental health, from the PTSD, that kind of things, they don't acknowledge it. It's the people around them that sees it, that tries to help them, and then a lot of times they just don't want to work with the people. They deny it. They try to get away from it, hide from it. Why do you think that's the case? They kind of stubborn. Why is that the case?
I feel like that happens a lot in males.
The
way I like to describe it, is males, because males like to bottle shit up. We don't like to express our problems. We don't like to let people know that, like, we're struggling. I like to use the analogy of I treat your mental health like a bottle of soda, right? Now, what happens if you take a bottle of soda and you shake it a little bit? It's going to get a little tight. It's not going to blow up. But if you keep shaking that bottle, over time, eventually that bottle is going to explode. And I never want anybody to get to that point where your bottle is going to explode.
Okay, that's a good analogy. That's a kind of a good thing. And do you think that kind of the Cowboys don't cry, that kind of things is also a big perspective, a big kind of, I would say, a mental block for people to reach out to people, to ask for help. Kind of, I don't want to say arrogance. Arrogance is not the correct word, but that kind of, as I said, the Cowboys don't cry kind of attitude. Do you think that thing as well? Do not reach out for help.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what it mostly comes down to. Dude, there's been times where, and I don't care to admit this, I'm a fucking man about it. I can curse, right? I'm sorry.
You can do what you want. You can do what you want.
Yeah, but there's times, man, where, sometimes you just gotta let it out. Sometimes I don't care how manly you are or how much you can lift. We all go through shit. Sometimes you just gotta let out a good cry, and it'll definitely help you. So if you're listening out there, and you just want to let it out, hey, close the blinds, crack open a beer, put on some bullshit on your TV and just let one out, man. I'm telling you, it's definitely healthy. You keep all that stuff bottled in. From experience, I'm letting you know right now, it's gonna come back to blow up in your face, metaphorically.
Okay. Yeah, metaphorically, obviously.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now I want to go a bit away from the mental side and to the physical side.
Let's
Being
go.
in the military, I don't know if the Navy is the same, but you have to pass a lot of tests, a lot of physical tests in order to meet criteria to be able to perform the duty. Is that the same with you? Was that the same with you? It's still the same.
Yep. There's
What kind of
a
toll does that ice? What kind of toll does that have on your body, on on yourself? That kind of soreness, that kind of things.
to be honest, at times it sucks because the military has faith in you to be mentally and physically ready. Well, I'm going to say not mentally, but whatever, physically ready, right? At all times. So they help you during the week. You know, we have like our scheduled like sessions where we go and we work out together, but also like on your spare time where it becomes more of like a routine. So sometimes you don't even realize, you know, you're doing it because you're just like, I'm so used to this.
Mm.
But it also helps, you know, it helps you blow off steam. It helps you get that alone time. It helps you get that time to just, you know, think. And so, for example, I was it's called a command fitness leader. So I was at one time in my earlier in my career, I was in charge of people's you know, physical health. I was in charge of doing the exercises. I was in charge of, you know, making sure people were ready to pass their fitness exams. But one thing that I implemented and one thing I realized was not everything is about like how far can you run or how fast can you run or how much weight can you pull or how many times can you do a push up, you know? Yeah, obviously that's a part of it. But another part of it is, you know, just taking your time, taking a deep breath. So I liked to implement like yoga. That was one thing I like to do. I like to do yoga with people. I like to do Zumba, right? We like to play sports as well because build that camaraderie, right? Like when you're running for 6 miles at 5 o'clock in the morning, it's miserable. But when you do that, you know, 4 days a week, and then on the fifth day, you all play football and hang out together. That's a great thing. It's something to look forward to. Something to look forward to.
So how important is that thing to look forward to? That kind of that light at the end of the tunnel. How important is that, especially for the mental part, for being getting your mindset right for the week? How important is that kind of nice goal that you have at the end of the week? Yes. How important would you say that is?
Well, one, we look forward to Friday because that means we're off on Saturday and Sunday. But two, it's also just a nice break, you know, like after a week, after 4 days of just doing the same thing over and over and over again, you know, because you work out in the morning, you go to work, most likely, you know, you're doing some manual labor or whatever the case may be. And then you go home and you repeat and you know, just do it all over again. So it's nice to have like that, something to look forward to, you know. Plus, it's fun.
Okay.
You know, everybody enjoys playing sports, even if you're not good at it. No one cares. And normally we don't do like you know, like pick captains and I pick you and pick the best teams. No, we get in a circle and count off 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, so that the teams are, you know, random and even and fun. And it's like, you know, no one's left out. Everyone gets the ball, so to speak, you know. If they don't want to play, they kind of just like hide because they're afraid, you know.
Okay.
Or you know, they you also have the option to go do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to force you to do anything you don't want to do. I'll say that's the one thing that, like, you know, I have never been forced like against my will to do anything I didn't want to do. So if, you know, if someone didn't want to play football or didn't want to play frisbee, you wanted to go walk on the track, you wanted to go stretch, be my guest. Go have fun, you know? As long as you're staying active and you're actively enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
couldn't give a shit less what you did. Just don't go scroll on TikTok, you know?
Yeah.
Or you can scroll on TikTok, make sure you're walking around the track, though.
Okay. Okay. Well, what did you say a typical day for you looks like? You wake up in the morning, you go for a jog. How would you say it's your typical day?
So yeah, normally, wake up like 5:30. Get to work about 6, and then we work out from like 6:30 to 7:45, and then we shower, get ready for the day, and then start at 9 usually, and then we do whatever tasking we have at hand, and then we go home in the afternoon. We don't get to go home right away.
Yeah, obviously. Okay,
Yeah.
so and in between the kind of job you're doing on a day-to-day basis, is that kind of maintenance? Is that the maintenance, the air conditioning, as you said, doing the plumbing? Is that kind of the job you're doing day to day?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, we'll do a
Okay.
lot of just, a lot of upkeep,
Mm,
a lot of make sure everything runs smoothly, hopefully.
okay. And
Well,
then
we do a lot of training too, a lot of
okay.
like a lot of learning. There's always you have to have a sponge for a brain. You have to be able
Mm,
to absorb things and like want to learn.
okay. So okay, so your typical day is then, I would say, during the day kind of the same as I would say a civilian kind of job. Is that correct, or is it incorrect for me saying that?
Yeah, I mean we're no different than anyone else. The only difference is we get paid by two different people, and
Mm,
I have a uniform that I have to wear. I don't want to say have to wear it because if there's anybody listening that's in the military, you can fully understand what I'm about to say. And if you're not in the military, you can probably still understand what I'm about to say. But you know what, Jocko? There is no better feeling than waking up in the morning and just putting on your uniform and just making sure it looks crisp from the chest pockets down and the shoulder pockets, and just there's no better feeling, man. Like one day I had my uniform on because I was on base getting a haircut during lunch, and there was this little kid that was sitting in the chair, and I can tell like he was staring at me because
mm,
he seen I was in uniform, so he was like, oh, like he's like, I get an army man a lot, but even though I'm
mm,
not in the army, but he's an army man, and I can see him staring at me, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to say anything to him because I don't want to make him feel uncomfortable. He's probably shy right now. So let me give him some time and see if he says something to me. If not, then I'll go up and say something to him. And, as I'm getting my haircut, he's getting his haircut like right across from me, and I see him just like staring at me. And like every time I look kind of at him, he like looks away. But in my peripheral vision, I can see him just looking at me. So after I get my haircut done, I'm all done. He's still in the chair, and his mom's right there. And I get up and I look at him, and I say to his mom, I said, "Do you mind if I give your son something?" And she said, "No, go ahead, go for it." So I got down on a knee and I looked at the little boy, and I said, "I wanted to say hi to you." And he said, and I was like, "I just wanted to say, hi and how you doing? And if it's
mm,
okay, I want to give you something." And he said, "Okay." And on my uniform, I wear two patches. One of them
mm,
is like a "Don't Tread on Me" flag, and the other one is the American flag. So I took both of those off my uniform and I put them together and I handed them to him. And I said, "I want you to keep these safe. And when I see you again, I want you to tell me if they're still okay. And let me know what the meaning is of these two flags." And he said, for those of you who don't know what I just did, I opened my mouth in awe, in shock, and shook my head up and down. And it's the moments like that where it just there's no better feeling. There's no better feeling.
And do you feel the kind of pressure being in that kind of role, being somebody a lot of people look up to, especially kids, especially young people, especially because everybody looks up to somebody in uniform. Do you feel kind of pressure? Do you feel that kind of responsibility there is?
At time, a lot of people are different. So at time I do, especially in that situation, right? For me, normally I wear my uniform and it's normal for me. So on a day to day, but like I said earlier, you brought up community, right? So me being a member to treat my community like the way I did that little boy getting a haircut, that's exactly what I mean, man. It's just have an open mind, have an open heart, and I talk to everybody. I talk to everybody. My wife hates it, but I can't go anywhere without talking to anybody.
Okay, and with that small gesture you made to that little boy, you've served there as well. You've served there the country. You've served there other people as well. That's a lot of people only see that kind of thing for fighting, for dying for your country, but doing things like that, that's also serving. That's also being part of what comes with the role, what comes with the job description. Isn't that true?
Yeah. Like we all understand that, like, people look up to the military. People love the military. They respect the military. So when we're in public, we always show that same respect back. People will always offer to maybe buy you something, and I'm not asking for any favors. I'm not asking for any. No one has to do anything for me. It's the gesture, right? Like this old man. This old man had like a Korean War hat on, and I was in McDonald's, and he ordered a cup of coffee, and normally the stigma is people pay for military meals and buy us things. That's not how this works, right? So for what I did is I bought that man a cup of coffee, and I got my food, and I sat down with that man and asked him about him and his story, because I like to talk. And more than I like to talk, I also like to listen.
Okay. And another thing that I've picked up is the tattoos you have. And you said that you gotten a tattoo from every place that you've visited while being in the military. Where did that start? Why did you start that kind of thing? Is it some kind of reminder for you? What is that? What is behind that?
Can you say that again? The language barrier kind of got me there.
Sorry. The tattoos on your arms,
tattoos.
on your body.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
why is that? How did that start?
So I have always loved tattoos. You can't see now, but from my neck to my toes, besides my hands, is completely tattooed. So we call it a suit, right? So when you wear a suit, you see nothing. You see no tattoos. You think I don't have anything. But when I take the suit off, it looks like I'm still wearing the suit, because my whole body is tattooed. Now there's like a famous person like Sailor Jerry. You ever heard of Sailor Jerry?
I have not heard of him.
So there's a Sailor Jerry. They also have a Sailor Jerry rum, and Sailor Jerry was like a Navy guy, and his specialty is like the traditional work, like the traditional tattoos. So I said I love that, and I wanted to go somewhere and just learn the culture, love the people, and just experience it to the fullest, right? Now, going to every place I've been, I have fell in love with every place I've been. And bringing home a souvenir, maybe like a shot glass that's going to sit in my cabinet and I'll never see it again, or getting a postcard that's going to get all ripped up and shredded, just wasn't for me, right? So I said, let me just get a tattoo. I can't lose this.
Okay.
Knock on wood, I don't lose it.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So that's actually great. That's a great kind of gesture. A good reminder for the things that you've seen, the things that you've done, and Also, on that note, I want to say thank you for the work you are doing, and are still doing and have done. So thanks a lot for that. And just before I'm going to stop the recording, I'm just going to ask you to tell me, where can people find you? Where can people listen to your podcast, reach out to you, maybe ask you for some help, for advice, all of that kind of things? Please tell me.
All right. I am gonna say one thing, that my views are my views and my views only. I do not represent the Department of Justice, the United States military, in any way, shape, or form. These are just my experiences, my stories, and my personal view. So I just want to let everybody know I don't speak on behalf of nobody but myself and the New York Yankees. Let's go Yankees.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, no. So you can find me on YouTube. It's FF Podcast. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. If you want to listen to my episodes, they're on Spotify and Apple Music under Fighting for Freedom Podcast. If anyone wants to see, that's what it looks like. And yeah, if you want to see my videos, any of my clips, Jocko, you could throw my link in the description below if you want. Make life a little easier.
Will do.
Maybe people don't know how to spell fighting, because I'm a New Yorker. So when I talk and when I spell things, it's broken. It is so broken. But yeah, man, no, I appreciate the opportunity coming onto your podcast. You know, this was a great conversation. It's not many times, because I myself run a podcast, right? There's not many times that I get to go on somebody else's podcast and get asked the questions and be on the other side of the mic, per se. So no, this was really cool. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Let's quickly stop the recording, then I'll talk to you about everything now going forward.